Ladies and gentlemen, let me ask you something. Are you happy with the story you're living right now? Be honest. Because for some of you, the answer is no. Life might have written some messy chapters for you. Heartbreak, failure, disappointment, and maybe you've started to believe that's all there is. But let me tell you something powerful. You are not stuck with that script. You are the author of your life. And as long as you're breathing, you have the power to grab that pen and rewrite your story. So if you're tired of reading the same sad pages over and over again, stick with me. Because today we're flipping that script, starting a whole new chapter, and trust me, this one is going to be a bestseller. Life has a way of throwing unexpected twists and turns at us. Some of those moments knock the wind out of you. Maybe it's a relationship that falls apart, a job you lose, a dream that gets crushed, or even a mistake you regret so deeply it haunts you. We all have chapters like that. And here's what most people do. They read those chapters over and over as if their entire life story has already been written based on those few pages. They get stuck, convinced that what happened to them yesterday defines what's possible for them tomorrow. But I'm here to tell you that's not how it works. You are the author of your life. And as long as you have breath in your lungs, the pen is still in your hand. Yes, your past happened. You can't erase it, but you don't have to be defined by it either. Too many people live as if they're characters in a story they have no control over. They act like they're just along for the ride, waiting for someone else to come in and save the day, or for some miracle to turn things around. But here's the truth. No one is coming to rewrite your story for you. That's your job. Think about some of the greatest stories ever told. The hero always faces setbacks, challenges, and even failures. But those aren't the parts we remember. What we remember is how they got back up, fought harder, and rewrote their story into something inspiring. You have that same power. It doesn't matter how many times life has knocked you down. You can always rise up and change the narrative. But here's the thing. Rewriting your story starts with a choice. You have to decide that you're done living in the shadows of your past. That you're tired of being defined by what went wrong and ready to create a new chapter where things go right. And that decision, it's not a one-time thing. You have to make it every single day. Every time doubt creeps in, every time fear tries to hold you back, and every time you're tempted to settle for less than you deserve, you have to choose to keep writing. And let's be real, rewriting your story isn't always easy. It takes courage to face those old chapters and say, that's not where my story ends. It takes strength to let go of the pain, the guilt, and the disappointment that's been weighing you down. But I promise you it's worth it, because on the other side of that struggle is a life you never imagined possible. A life where you're not just surviving, but thriving. Where you wake up excited about the story you're living. The beauty of life is that it's always evolving. New opportunities, new relationships, and new dreams are constantly waiting for you to claim them. But you have to be willing to pick up that pen and start writing. And here's the best part. You don't have to have it all figured out right now. Just start. Write one new sentence, then another. Make one better choice, then another. Before you know it, you'll be living a whole new story. One filled with purpose, joy, and success. The kind of story you'll be proud to call your own. Your past does not define you. Let that sink in for a moment. Too often we carry the weight of our mistakes, failures, and disappointments as if they're permanent tattoos on our lives. Maybe someone told you that you'd never be successful, that you weren't good enough, or that you'd always be stuck where you are. Maybe you've convinced yourself that because of what happened in your past, you'll never achieve your dreams or live a meaningful life. But here's the truth. Your past is a chapter, not the whole book. And it's time to stop letting those few chapters define your entire story. Think about it. If you're reading a novel and come across a tough, dark chapter, you don't toss the book away and assume it's all downhill from there. You keep reading, hoping for a breakthrough moment. Life works the same way. Those difficult chapters you've lived through, they were moments, not definitions. And as painful or messy as they may have been, they don't have to dictate what happens next. The biggest problem is that we get stuck replaying the past in our minds. We keep reading those same chapters over and over until we believe that's all there is. But here's the game changer. The past only has power over you if you let it. Yes, you made mistakes. Yes, people may have hurt you or circumstances may not have gone your way. But the key is what you do next. You can either let the past be an anchor that drags you down, or you can let it be a stepping stone that propels you forward. The most successful and inspiring people in the world all have one thing in common. They didn't let their past define them. They faced rejection, failure, and setbacks, but they made a decision to keep moving forward. They took those painful experiences and used them as fuel to write a better story. You have that same power within you. Your past is not a prison sentence. It's a lesson, a reminder, and sometimes even a blessing in disguise. But you have to do something important. You have to forgive yourself. Too many people are holding on to guilt and shame from their past, thinking they have to punish themselves forever. Let me tell you, there's no freedom in that. Forgiveness doesn't mean forgetting what happened. It means releasing the grip it has on your future. Forgive yourself for the mistakes you've made and use those lessons to become wiser, stronger, and better. And here's one more thing to remember. People's opinions of your past don't matter. What matters is how you see yourself and the story you're committed to writing moving forward. Stop giving people the pen to your life story. Take it back. Write the narrative you want, not the one someone else tried to impose on you. Today is a blank page. What happened yesterday is done. You can't change it, but you can control what you do with it. So decide right now that you are more than your past. You are capable of growth, redemption, and success. Write a new chapter that reflects your strength, your resilience, and your determination, because the best part of your story is still unwritten. And that's where your true power lies. The most dangerous stories aren't the ones people tell about you. They're the ones you tell yourself. Those inner narratives shape how you see the world, how you see yourself, and ultimately what you believe you're capable of achieving. The problem is that most of us don't even realize we're carrying around these negative scripts. They've been playing in our minds for so long that they feel like the truth. But let me tell you something. Just because a thought pops up in your mind doesn't mean it's a fact. Think about it. How many times have you told yourself, I'm not smart enough to do that. I'm too old to start over. I always mess things up. Or I don't deserve happiness. Those are lies masquerading as truth. But if you believe them long enough, they become your reality. It's like putting yourself in a mental cage where you're the one locking the door. Here's the thing. Your mind is like fertile soil. Whatever you plant in it will grow. If you plant seeds of doubt, insecurity, and fear, don't be surprised when that's all you see in your life. But if you start planting seeds of confidence, resilience, and possibility, you'll see a completely different landscape. The key is recognizing those negative narratives and deleting them like you delete a bad draft. Because those old scripts, They're holding you back from greatness. Now, I'm not saying it's easy. Those negative thoughts are sneaky. They show up when you're about to step outside your comfort zone or when life throws a curveball your way. But here's how you beat them. You challenge them. The next time that voice in your head says, you're not good enough, stop and ask, says who? Where's the evidence for that? 9 times out of 10, you'll realize that voice is just a product of fear, insecurity, or someone else's opinion that you've internalized. And guess what? You don't have to listen to it. Instead, you can rewrite those narratives. Replace I'm not good enough with I'm constantly learning and improving. Swap I always mess things up for I've made mistakes, but I've also learned valuable lessons. Changing the story you tell yourself doesn't happen overnight, but with practice, it becomes a new habit, one that empowers you instead of holding you back. And let's talk about the people around you for a minute. Sometimes the narratives we carry come from what others have told us. Maybe a teacher said you weren't smart, or a parent made you feel like you'd never measure up. But here's the truth. No one gets to write your story but you. People will always have opinions, but you don't have to make those opinions your identity. Take back the pen and write your own truth. When you change the story you tell yourself, you change your life. You start seeing opportunities instead of obstacles. You take risks you never thought you could handle. And most importantly, you start living as the person you were always meant to be. Bold, confident, and unstoppable. So today, I want you to make a promise to yourself. No more letting those old negative narratives run the show. It's time to rewrite the script in a way that uplifts, empowers, and propels you toward the life you truly deserve. Change is one of the hardest things for people to embrace, but it's also one of the most powerful tools you have for rewriting your story. The problem is that we often get stuck in routines and habits that feel comfortable, even when they aren't serving us. It's easier to stick with what we know than to step into the unknown. But here's the truth. If you want a different life, you have to be willing to do something different. Growth and transformation only happen when you're willing to let go of what's familiar and step into what's possible. Now, I'm not saying change is easy. It's not. Change can be messy, uncomfortable, and even scary. But you know what's scarier? Waking up one day and realizing that you let your entire life pass you by because you were too afraid to take a chance on yourself. If you want to live a better story, you have to be brave enough to flip the page, even when you don't know exactly what the next chapter will hold. Think about this. Every success story you've ever heard started with someone making a decision to change. Whether it was switching careers, moving to a new city, ending a toxic relationship, or simply deciding to take their health seriously, that change was the spark that ignited something incredible. Change isn't just a disruption, it's an invitation to something greater. But you have to answer that invitation. Here's the thing. Change doesn't always have to be dramatic. Sometimes it's about making small, consistent choices that add up over time. Maybe it's waking up an hour earlier to work on that passion project you've been putting off. Maybe it's having one honest conversation that clears the air and opens new doors. Maybe it's simply changing the way you talk to yourself, replacing negative self-talk with words of encouragement and affirmation. Those small changes, when done consistently, can create a ripple effect that transforms your entire life. But here's where people get stuck. They wait for the perfect moment to make a change. Let me tell you something, there is no perfect moment. If you're waiting for all the stars to align before you take that leap, you'll be waiting forever. The right time is now. Even if it's messy, even if you're scared, even if you don't have all the answers, start now. Because every moment you spend waiting is a moment you could be living your new story. And let's be honest, change comes with setbacks. You're going to stumble, make mistakes, and sometimes even question whether it's worth it. But here's the beautiful thing about growth. It's not about perfection, it's about persistence. Every time you get back up, you're proving to yourself that you're stronger than you thought. And that strength, that's what builds a story worth telling. So today, I challenge you to ask yourself, what needs to change in my life? What's one thing I can do right now to take that first step? Don't wait for permission and don't wait for the fear to go away. The life you're meant to live is on the other side of that change. Take the leap, flip the page, and start writing the story you were always meant to live. One of the most critical things you need to rewrite your story is a community of the right people. You can't do it alone. I know there's this idea out there about being self-made, but let me tell you the truth. Nobody is truly self-made. Behind every successful person is a group of people who believed in them, pushed them, guided them, and held them accountable. Those relationships are game changers when it comes to transforming your life. You don't just need people around you, you need the right people. Let's be real, not everyone in your life is rooting for you to win. Some folks are comfortable with the version of you that's stuck because that version doesn't challenge them. They'll discourage your growth, dismiss your ideas, or remind you of your past failures every chance they get. And here's the hard part. You have to recognize when it's time to let those people go. I'm not saying you need to cut ties with everyone who's ever doubted you, but if someone consistently brings negativity into your life and stands in the way of your progress, it's time to rethink that relationship. On the flip side, there are people out there who genuinely want to see you succeed. These are the ones who uplift you, inspire you, and hold you accountable when you're slacking. They challenge you to think bigger and encourage you when things get tough. But you have to be intentional about finding those people. They don't just show up out of nowhere. You have to seek them out, build those connections, and invest in those relationships. And here's the thing, being around the right people isn't just about getting advice or having someone to cheer you on. It's also about accountability. When you surround yourself with people who are striving for greatness, it pushes you to do the same. You can't hang around winners and stay the same. Their energy, ambition, and mindset will rub off on you, and before you know it, you'll be leveling up in ways you never thought possible. But this isn't just about what others can do for you. It's also about what you bring to the table. Relationships are a two-way street. Be the kind of person who encourages others, celebrates their wins, and holds them accountable when needed. When you invest in people and show up for them, they'll do the same for you. That's how you build a strong, supportive community that helps you thrive. And let's not forget mentorship. Find someone who's already living the kind of life you aspire to have, learn from their mistakes, absorb their wisdom, and let their journey inspire your own. A good mentor can fast-track your growth and help you navigate challenges more effectively. But remember, mentorship isn't about someone handing you the answers. It's about learning, applying, and showing up consistently. So take a moment to evaluate your circle. Who's in your corner? Who's pushing you to be better? And more importantly, who might be holding you back? If you want to rewrite your story, you need to surround yourself with people who believe in the best version of you and who won't let you settle for anything less. Seek out those connections, nurture them, and watch how your story starts to change. The final and most crucial step in rewriting your story is action. You can change your mindset, rewrite the narratives you tell yourself, embrace change, and surround yourself with the right people, but none of it matters if you don't move. Action is what turns dreams into reality. It's the bridge between where you are and where you want to be. And here's the simple truth: nothing changes until you do. The problem is that most people get stuck in analysis mode. They spend all their time planning, overthinking, and waiting for the perfect moment to start. They tell themselves, I need more information, I'm not ready yet, or maybe next year. But you know what happens? Years go by and they're still in the same place, living the same story. Let me tell you this: imperfect action beats perfect inaction every time. The best time to start is now, and the best place to start is right where you are. Here's the thing about taking action: it doesn't have to be big or dramatic. You don't have to quit your job overnight, move to a new city, or completely overhaul your life. Sometimes it's about making one small step in the direction you want to go. Maybe it's making that phone call you've been putting off, signing up for that class, or waking up an hour earlier to work on your goals. Those small steps may seem insignificant at first, but they add up over time. One step leads to another, and before you know it, you're miles ahead of where you started. And let's be real, taking action can be scary. Fear will show up every time you're about to step out of your comfort zone. But here's what you need to remember: fear is a sign that you're growing. It's not a stop sign. It's a green light that says, keep going. The people who succeed aren't the ones who are fearless. They're the ones who feel the fear and take action anyway. Now, I know what you're thinking. What if I fail? Let me tell you something. Failure is not the opposite of success. It's part of the process. Every successful person you admire has failed more times than they can count. The difference is that they didn't let failure define them. They learned from it, got back up, and kept moving forward. And that's what you have to do too. When you fall, don't stay down. Get up, learn the lesson, and keep going. That's how you build resilience, and that's how you rewrite your story. Another thing to remember is that consistency matters. Taking action once won't change your life. It's about showing up day after day, even when you don't feel like it, even when it's hard, and even when you're not seeing immediate results. Consistency is what separates the people who dream from the people who achieve. Keep putting in the work, and eventually the results will come. So today, I want to challenge you. What's one action you can take right now to move toward the life you want? Don't wait for permission, and don't wait for the fear to go away. Take that step, no matter how small it is, and commit to taking the next one after that. Because at the end of the day, your story is written by the actions you take. Make sure you're writing a story worth living.